to Red Top Middle School's Family Literacy Night. Thank you for joining us. As you participate tonight, if you have questions or comments, please drop them in the comments below. We are going to be talking about some tips that you can use to help your students become stronger readers. Reading is a skill just like any other skill. It needs practice. So we're going to talk to you about how we can help strengthen our students' reading skills. We're going to hear from Ms. Sherman, our reading specialist, talking about how we can support middle grades readers. And then later tonight, you're going to hear from Ms. Riddle, who is our speech language pathologist, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about younger readers, so our mini minors, and how we can support them as well, so that once they get to the Red Top Middle School, they are they're ready and they're prepared. So first, we're going to take a look at our agenda tonight. You'll see we're also going to have some book recommendations. A little bit later, I'll be back with those book recommendations, and then we're going to end it out with a trivia night and a parent evaluation. Please make sure you fill out the parent evaluation form that we're attaching, and we would like your feedback so that we can make sure that we are serving your family the best as possible. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to shoot you over to Ms. Sherman.
Hello, Minor family. My name is Lynn Sherman. I'm the reading interventionist here at Red Top Middle School. I have a few tips and reading strategies that I would like to share with you that can be done at home with your child. You are your child's biggest influence. It is valuable when your children see you read. Reading the newspaper after dinner, reading a recipe while you're cooking, shows the student that this is a skill that they will use for the rest of their lives. Reading is a skill. It's just like learning to play a sport or just like learning to play an instrument. The more you practice, the better you will get. Research shows 20 minutes a day of reading improves performance and learning in school. So here are a few things that you can do at home to make reading fun. Even older children love to be read aloud to. Reading aloud is beneficial for all ages. So take time to read with your children. Have them read to you a little bit, then you take over and read to them a little bit. Sharing the reading responsibility makes it a little more manageable for them, and it also makes it fun for everybody. You can include the whole family where everybody takes on a part in the story, and it becomes like a dramatic reading of from your family. When children are involved in practical things like helping you read the recipe, maybe you ask them to read the recipe to you that you're using to cook dinner. Or maybe you're trying to figure out how to hang the new TV that you just bought. Ask them to read the instructions to you, or can you explain this part of the instructions to me? Shows them that this is, again, a skill, that this is lifelong. It's not something that you just use in school and then forget about. Reading needs to be accessible to them. And if you don't have time when you can have a book, maybe you can play an audiobook in the car on the way to school or on the way to and from ball practice. If it's something that they're interested in, the child will pick up on what's going on in that, and maybe they could then check it out from the library if it's something that they enjoy. Make getting books a fun activity. Go to the public library and everybody checks out a book that they think they will enjoy and want to share with each other. Go into bookstores and have the children check out or find a book that they would like, maybe as a reward, maybe as a Christmas present or a birthday present. Talk about books that you have read as a family, or maybe the student has read. Talk about them as compared to the films that you all have watched. A lot of the books nowadays are being made into movies. So maybe after you have family movie night, you have family book time where you're reading the same book as the movie you watched. And then you can discuss things that you liked and didn't like about each one of those. Have students make up stories to tell you or to tell each other, and then talk about the things that they liked from those stories, why they made those stories up the way they did, and see if you can find books that are similar to that. Not every child likes to read. It's difficult for some students, and we don't like to do things that are hard. I know I don't. I like for things to be easy, but reading is something that will improve with practice. So if you have a student that doesn't necessarily love to read, make it a non-stress time for them. Make it something that is a big deal and that is fun for them. Set up a little cozy reading nook. In my office, I have 2 little bean bags and a lamp over there where it's kind of a quiet little space. Not a lot of people are going to come around, and it's a good place to just curl up and get kind of cozy and enjoy just a few minutes of reading time. Make sure that in this particular case that you make reading accessible to them. It's okay during this particular time for them to read something that is maybe a little easier for them. We're not looking for difficulty here. We're looking for the practice of it here. So you want them to, it's okay if they start out easy and then build up to something longer and a little more difficult. Literacy skills are foundational skills for all kinds of learning. They're so important, and they unlock a world of opportunities for your student as far as learning goes. Parental involvement is the most important influence for kids as they develop their reading skills and their positive attitude toward reading. So things that you can do at home, providing the time for them to read, you showing a love of reading, you showing them that this is a skill that they will need, and actively participating with them will go a long way in helping to support your child and their learning.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sherman. As we've been surveying our students this year, one thing that we realized is that they are very interested in the horror and mystery genre. So we are going to be purchasing some new books for our library, and we are going to be focusing specifically on those genres in order to help engage our readers a little more. So really quickly, what I want to spend a few minutes on tonight is giving some book recommendations that you and your student might be interested in the spirit of the Halloween season and in the student interest of mystery and horror. So the first book I want to point out to you guys is called Coraline. Coraline is by the same author as The Graveyard Book, which they are reading or they have read in 7th grade, and many kids really enjoyed that. Coraline is about a little girl who steps through the door and finds a home just like hers, except better, or so she thinks. Turns out there's no place like home, and the people who live on the greener grass are really quite creepy. So check out Coraline. We have copies in our library. There are also some graphic novels, which I believe are in classrooms, which is another great way to get students reading. All right, the next book I want to point out is by an author many parents may be familiar with, R.L. Stine. R.L. Stine has been a staple in the horror genre for many, many years, specializing in a young adult horror, specifically with the Goosebumps series, probably being his most popular. He has another series called the Fear Street series, and you can see the Fear Street series, The New Girl, which is the first book in the series. This is appropriate for a little bit older students, so those tween age, 7th and 8th graders may be interested in this. Goosebumps are really great for lower Lexile. However, those students who are still wanting to be in the horror genre but level up the Lexile a little bit will be interested in this new Fear Street series. This series begins with The New Girl, and it's the story of one boy's obsession with the pretty new girl. When she vanishes, he heads to Fear Street to find out what happens, and that just may be the death of him. So check out the Fear Street series, which will be coming to our library soon, to get your fix of some more spooky stories. All right, there are just 2 more books I want to share with you. The second book, our series really, is the Enola Holmes series. Many of you may be familiar with the Enola Holmes series on Netflix. They released a Netflix series on that this summer, starring Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. And they also have a series of books on Enola Holmes. This is in the mystery genre, so it's a little bit less scary, but it focuses on Enola, who is the sister of Sherlock and Mycroft Holmes. And Enola goes on a quest to solve mysteries, specifically of her own background. So check out the Enola Holmes series. We have 4 or 5 of the book series floating around classrooms, and we'll also be adding those to our library. Enola is a feisty girl with a mind for mystery, and she is on the case. So check out the Enola Holmes series in your classroom libraries and in our school library for a great mystery. And the last series I wanted to share with you guys is one that I'm currently reading. It is one of my favorites. We bought it actually for classroom libraries, and I got reading it during our Friday Drop Everything and Read morning. It is a great series. The first book in the series is called Truly Devious. It's actually a trilogy. So in the trilogy, it takes place at Ellingham Academy, which is a private boarding school in Vermont, founded by a famous and wealthy billionaire. After the school opens, the wife and daughter of the founder get kidnapped, and there's a murder on campus of a young student. And we join now, many years later, with Stevie Bell. She is a student at the academy, and she is a true crime junkie, and she is setting out to solve the mystery of the kidnapping and murder that is, to this day, still unsolved. So check out Truly Devious and the Truly Devious trilogy for more information on this. It's a great read. Like I said, I started it on a Drop Everything and Read day, and I have been reading through the series on my own at home. So I highly recommend that. Again, this is in classroom libraries and will be in our school library soon.
My name is Katie Riddle, and I'm one of the speech language pathologists here at Red Top Middle School. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about engaging the younger members of your minor family with books and reading. Books like this and this are great for the youngest members of your family because they help them engage with books in general. A book like this is soft, it makes noise, it has large graphic pictures and only one word on each page. This is a great book for a baby as soon as they come home from the hospital. It's soft and engaging. It helps them understand the idea of turning pages and looking at things that are in front of them. A book like this one is very similar. It has big graphic images and not too many words. As your child gets older, you can use a book like this to create discussions. Yellow, yellow. Move your finger under the word, highlighting each letter as you make the sound. Yellow. This word is yellow. This is the color yellow. The lion is yellow. Roar. Orange, the color orange. This fish is orange. This orange fish is blowing bubbles. It might feel a little bit silly, but doing this can really help engage your younger babies and children with words and the letters, sounds, and meaning. As your child gets older, a word book with more words can be great. I love our time together as we start each happy day. A book like this that really begins to tell a story is great for also engaging with the pictures. Wow, what are these pictures showing us? There you see the mama or the daddy bear and the baby bear. They are watching the sunrise. Their day is just beginning. Look here, they're splashing in the water. Can you find the fish? There it is. I love our bath time silliness, the way we splash and play. Board books are excellent for engaging your child in turning the pages because they're a little bit stiffer, easier to turn. Books like this help us transition into what we call storybooks, books that tell a story, that have a beginning, middle, and end. They have a setting, they have a problem and a resolution, and those really are the books that are going to help transition our kids from pre-literacy skills into literacy skills. A book like Where the Wild Things Are. We can talk about the cover, the spine, the title page. When I'm reading this story, I might say, Where the Wild Things Are. Story and Pictures by Maurice Sendak. We can look at the picture before we start reading the story, just like in the board book. Oh, we see Max. What is he doing? He has a hammer and he is hammering something into the wall. Look at his face. His face looks angry. Show me your angry face. Things like this, even though they're not in the book, help your child engage with the story and get excited about what's going to happen. As you go through, you can look at the pictures and imagine what might be happening. Don't forget to point at each word. Let your child help tell the story with you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's all about spending time together, spending time with books, and growing your skills and knowledge. Thank you.
Now, reading is great, but let's be honest, sometimes we need something a little bit different. So there are also many games available for families now to encourage literacy skills. Many of these games are games we used to play together as families, such as Scrabble and Mad Libs. But we also have a variety of new games available to families as well, such as headbands. Many families don't think about games like headbands or can't think, there's an app version as well. I can't think of the name of that one. As literacy games, but it requires our students to think of a variety of words to describe the given object. So when they're doing that, they're having to constantly think of new words. They're having to think of synonyms to describe the word, which is a great literacy skill. Apples to Apples Junior is another great game that provides students the opportunity to use vocabulary in action, and then as well games like Scattergories. Many of these games now are also available in app form, so Words with Friends and other games like that we can play with our students on these devices that they love so much are another great way to encourage those literacy skills with our students. One of the things we're also working on in our literacy classes in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, our ELA classes this year are working on citing evidence. So one thing you may hear from your students is the RACE method. So I did want to take just a minute today to go over that RACE method with you. So as your students are bringing this home, that you're familiar with it, and that when they're showing you their writing, you can help them remember to go through the RACE method. Okay? So when we're writing and citing evidence, the first thing we do is the R, which is restate, reword the prompt. So the first thing we want students to do is just in their own words, state whatever it is we're asking them to do. Okay? The second thing we ask them to do is the A, answer the question. All right? So whatever it is we're asking them, then the first thing, restate the prompt. So for example, I would like a pet. Okay, then we answer the question, what pet would you like? I would like a dog. All right, The third thing, cite what leads you to that. So what we're going to ask them to do there is to provide specific evidence from the article given to tell us why they support their answer. And then explain how the evidence supports your answer. So once they give us the specific details and quotes from the story, what we're then going to ask them to do is explain how that evidence supports their idea in their own words. Now, as an ELA teacher for many years, I can tell you that the explained evidence is the one that's most forgotten by our students. Things to go over with you guys, and don't forget to stick around to the very end. In about 10 minutes, we're going to be hopping on to our trivia game. And remember that the top 5 scoring families will receive house points for their student, house points for everybody that participates. And also they'll receive the top 5 scores on our review game will get ice cream at lunch tomorrow. So make sure you stick around with that and that you hang with us for just a few more minutes, and then we'll start that trivia game with you guys. All right. One more thing I want to talk to you very briefly about, and I'm not going to take too much time on this, is copyright and plagiarism. Now, these are things we don't like to talk about, but when we talk about citing evidence, one thing for us to keep in mind is that it's very important to give proper credit for the information that we're using. Okay? So when we talk about copyright, basically what that means is that when we write something, the author is protected. That is their work. It belongs to them. And what our government says is that once we write that and it belongs to us, nobody can use it without our permission or without properly citing, letting other people know that it is in fact our work. Okay? Which is great. We don't want anybody taking what is ours. Now, unfortunately, oftentimes with the internet, we see something called copyright infringement, and that's when people take things that don't belong to them and they use them in ways that are not ethical. So, for example, if we are given our lesson today and I play music in the background that I don't have permission to use, that's called copyright infringement, and that's actually not ethical and it's not legal for me to do that. So you'll notice there's no music here today because we didn't want to get in any situations there. So copyright infringement is very important. All right. With that, we run into something often with our students called plagiarism. And we just want to take a minute to talk about that. I know it's not a pretty thing to talk about it, but it's very, very important that our students and parents understand what plagiarism is. Now, when your student plagiarizes, oftentimes students don't know that they're doing it. Oftentimes it occurs when students don't properly cite things. However, sometimes we do have students who take others' work as their own, but the majority of time that we see plagiarism, students just don't understand the rules. Now, when you are using another person's idea, you have to say that you're using their information and their words. If you take those words and you put them in your own words and use them, that's still considered plagiarism. So we always want to make sure that we are giving proper credit to the person who originally created whatever ideas or information that we are using. Okay? Well, I hope this has been informational for you guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for those who stick through the first few technology glitches that we had. So if you'll hang tight on the RevTalk page right here for just a few more minutes, in just a second, I'm going to have up the trivia game. Remember, top 5 scorers on the trivia game get ice cream at lunch tomorrow. Thank you guys, and have a great day, Miner family.